So Charlie asked himself a simple question, and he inverted the entire problem. And he asked himself, suppose I want to kill a lot of pilots. What would be the easy way to do that? And he figured out there were only two ways to do that. Number one, get the planes into cold temperatures that would cause them to ice up and crash. That's number one. Number two, get the pilot into an area where he would run out of fuel before he could safely land. Hi, my name is Mo Gayas. Essentially, I'm a kid who was obsessed with winning and sharing the lessons with you because growing up, I wish I had someone like me to help me out. On the Healthy Systems podcast, you will learn one main idea, system from each episode that you can use in your life, whether that is financial, relationships, fitness, and wellness. So if you're a millennial, you're hyper ambitious, this podcast is for you because the more systematic your life is, the more you can win and not waste time. So join me on your journey to building a life of healthy systems for yourself. Hello. Welcome to Healthy Systems Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mo. And today's healthy system is, I'm going to share the number one greatest mindset hack I've learned to accomplish anything you want in life. Okay. This is a mental model that I've applied in my life throughout. And I learned this about 6 years ago now, in 2018 at Berkshire Hathaway's annual investor meeting with Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger, who is a billionaire, one of the co-owners of Costco as well, if you know that. Everybody knows Costco. Charlie is just one of the greatest, I think, minds that has lived. He passed away recently at the age of 99 years old. And he lived a very, very wholesome life. And he spent his life acquiring wisdom. And if you ever watch one of his videos, he's that grandpa that you want to learn from because his advice is very practical, but he was also a very, very smart person. He was a lawyer, went through the, schooling. He was in the Navy at one point when he was younger. So just a very well-rounded person. And Charlie talks about this, and it was called the theory of inversion. And he says it was the greatest mindset hack to solve any problem he ever encountered in his life. So what is inversion thinking? Well, inversion thinking is the way of thinking in which you consider the opposite of what you want. Okay? So the opposite of what you want. So think of it like this. Inversion is a framework. It's a mental model that you can use to solve problems that you currently just can't see. You're like, man, I'm stuck, Mo. I don't know how to solve this problem. And these frameworks, what they do is they look at complex problems, really sophisticated problems in your life, and they just break them down into tiny pieces that are much easier to solve. So Charlie was used to saying invert, always invert. And he would teach his kids that he's like, invert. Like he would ask them a question to solve, and then the kids would get stuck, and he's like, invert. That's the hint, invert it, right? And it's basically the idea of solving problems in reverse. So you start at what you don't want, and then you try to solve the problem from that perspective. Because our brain is so good at allocating resources on the loss aversion. So like it wants to avoid that thing. And we can actually recognize that part. And we're like, okay, this is what we want to avoid. Then we actually just don't do that, and we are successful by default. So did Charlie come up with this? Actually, no. This framework was established by the Stoics, such as Marcus Aurelius, the Seneca, Epictetus. Those guys, in their writings, have mentioned this concept. And then modern mathematics uses inversion a lot. So if you're a math student, you would know this. And then obviously Charlie Munger and Howard Marks and a lot of the nowadays, people of 21st century. So the overall premise is that success is overvalued. Everybody asks themselves, how do I become more successful? People go to seminars and they raise their hands, they get in line just to ask the speaker, hey, how do I make more money? How do I become more successful? Charlie used to say, it's not important. Success is overvalued. Avoiding failure actually matters more. So he would say, avoid failure. Forget focusing on just success, because if you avoid failure over a long period of time, you will be successful by default, right? So it's just powerful. So I'm going to give you some examples so this point is driven home for you, okay? So let's say you have a goal. I want you to write it down. Write down that goal that you have. And then on the other side of the piece of paper, write down what could cause this to go terribly wrong. Okay. What could make this a complete mess? And then let's talk about some examples. For example, I'll give you some easy ones. Okay. So if you wanted to ask yourself, hey, I want to be more focused. I want to increase my productivity. You go and you're like, man, you look up on the internet, how do I get focused? How do I become more productive? And the internet gives you like 90,000 journals to download and this video and that video. Instead, you apply inversion to this question. How do I get more focused? How do I become more productive? You apply inversion to this, and that same question turns into, what if I wanted to decrease my productivity? What if I wanted to decrease my focus? Okay. How would you do it? How would you do it? Right? How would you end up distracted? Like if you wanted to get end up distracted, how would you do it? Now start writing those things down. These questions will help you, right? Once you have all of those things written down, like how would you end up distracted? Well, I'll definitely be on social media. I'll definitely have my phone nearby at all times. I would definitely have all my notifications on, right? Because God forbid I miss one of the notifications from weather.com. And then I would keep all of them on. And then I would look at my phone every second and forget making a to-do list or forget, setting aside time to like just focus. I would just, look at my phone. I would be dehydrated. I would be hungry. I would be overfed. I would eat this. I would eat that. Yeah, pretty easy way. Once you have that list written down, then all you got to do is not do those things, is to avoid those things. And you'll end up being productive by default. You'll end up being focused by default, right? So this concept, that was for productivity. Now let's use an example in terms of relationships, because as you guys know, at Healthy Systems, we talk a lot about the 4 F's, which is faith, family, fitness, and finances. So for relationships, here's what it comes down to. Instead of saying, how would I make my marriage awesome? Or how would I make my relationship awesome? Or how do I even get a spouse? How do I attract the best spouse? Instead, invert that problem. And in the marriage example, you can ask yourself, man, what would I do that could ruin this marriage? Like, how would I ruin this marriage? So instead of asking yourself, how would I make this marriage the most amazing, the best marriage in the world, the best of the power couple, ask yourself, how would I ruin this marriage? Right? You would give yourself examples like, oh, I would definitely not have trust with my spouse. I would definitely not respect the other person. I would definitely not, let them have any of my time. I would definitely not spend any quality time with them. So like start making those lists, right? And once you have those lists, that list, all you got to do is avoid it, avoid those things, and you will start, achieving a great marriage by default. How would, let's say the spouse example, let's say you're currently single and you're like, man, how do I find a perfect spouse? Instead of asking yourself, how do I find it? How do I find it? Well, ask yourself, how would I not find it? Well, a great way to not find a great spouse is to not look. Yeah. Don't tell anybody. Don't go out. Just stay in your little room in the basement. Just take a lot of naps. Don't be on social media. Don't make a dating app profile. Don't talk to anybody. Just stay alone. Just literally yeah, like just don't bring it up. Don't tell any of your friends that, don't go out, don't be social. Yeah, just wait for, somebody to come save you. Once you have all those list of items, then and also be rude. Be rude to your family, be rude to all your friends, and then yeah, make sure your reputation is that you're a rude, disrespectful, untrustworthy person. Just make that list as long as possible. And then avoid it. Once you avoid it, you'll find your spouse by default, right? So invert, always invert. Instead of asking yourself, how do I make more money? Ask yourself, how would I destroy my financial health? How would I do it? I would definitely not wake up on time. I would definitely not, do any money making activities. I would definitely not learn any skills. I would definitely not read any books. I would definitely not show up on time at my job. I would definitely piss off my boss. I would definitely be rude to my coworkers. I would definitely do all of those things that get me fired, right? So write down all that list. And then all you got to do, I hope you're getting it by now. You just got to avoid it. You just avoid it, right? So once you have the inversion list, you just avoid it. And then you achieve that goal by default. So instead of just focusing on how to become more successful, write down how would I just become a failure? Make a list, make a complete list as long as possible. Then just avoid it. How do I get in shape? Instead of asking yourself, how do I get in shape? Ask yourself, how would I stay fat? How would I stay where I'm at? right? Then make a list of every single way to stay fat. Number one, definitely don't exercise. Never hire a coach. Never work with a trainer. Definitely don't follow any nutrition plan. Eat whatever your parents eat. And if they're overweight, great. Just follow their footsteps because you'll end up there too. Hang out with overweight friends. Go to brunch every, other day and like overeat on the pancakes and overeat all the greasy foods, right? Just literally eat fast food every day. Don't exercise. Don't even move. Just sit on your couch, watch Netflix. And every time you watch Netflix, eat a big bowl of popcorns, eat a lot of ice cream. Just literally like just go at it, right? Make that list. Hang out with other overweight people. Don't have any healthy friends. And yeah, just keep going. Make that list as long as possible, right? Like you would drink mocha frappuccinos every morning, literally drink sodas every day, eat donuts every day, definitely don't exercise, sit on the couch all day, irregular sleep schedule, don't even sleep on time. Hell, just stay awake, just watch Netflix all day, eating fast food every day, having no plan to work out, having no accountability, having no system. Just say you know everything. Just say I know how to get healthy and get in shape, and then just literally just stay overweight. That's a great way to stay out of shape. Now you have that list, and all you got to do is not do those things. If you don't do those things, boom, you get in shape by default, right? So at the end of the day, that's what inversion is. So I hope this is making sense to you because I know this mental framework is very counterintuitive and it's not obvious to spend time thinking about the opposite of what you want. It's not obvious. I'm telling you, this is a little counterintuitive, but inversion is a key tool that many great thinkers of our time have used. Stoics, they used to visualize negative outcomes. Stoics used to visualize negative outcomes. And you even look at it, groundbreaking artists, they invert the status quo, right? They go against the status quo to create new type of music. And even if you look at leaders, effective leaders avoid the mistakes that prevent success just as much as they chase the skills to accelerate it. So effective leaders just look at how would we make this country a failure, right? And good leaders just avoid those things. You know what I mean? And this is important to know because it is a very logical and a rational way to live your life. It allows you to step outside your normal patterns of thought and see situations from a different angle, that an angle that you normally wouldn't be able to see unless you invert it. So whatever problem you're facing, always consider the opposite of that. Okay. And it's remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us can get, but just trying to consistently not be stupid. So instead of trying to be very, very intelligent, it's much easier to just avoid being stupid. You see how that sounds pretty good. You know what I mean? Like if I asked you, hey, are you a very, very intelligent person or are you wanting to be a very, very intelligent person? Most people will think that a lot of effort would go into that. It's a lot of work. But if I asked you, are you not stupid? You'll be like, yeah, I'm not stupid. I'm good. It's like, see how little effort that goes into it. So, and if you're not stupid for a long period of time, you'll be intelligent by default. So I think that's fascinating. And there was one example that Charlie Munger gave when he was in the Navy. And I'm going to try my very best to paraphrase it. But basically, he talked about this, I think, in his annual shareholder meeting in 2019, 2020. He said, Charlie was a meteorologist in World War II for the United States Navy. And in the war, he talks about he was given a task to draw weather maps. So what he was actually doing was drawing these maps to clear pilots to take flights. So his job was basically make sure that the direction the pilots were headed, there was no storm, etc., so he can avoid problems. So Charlie asked himself a simple question, and he inverted the entire problem. And he asked himself, suppose I want to kill a lot of pilots. What would be the easy way to do that? And he figured out there were only two ways to do that. Number one, get the planes into cold temperatures that would cause them to ice up and crash. That's number one. Number two, get the pilot into an area where he would run out of fuel before he could safely land. Okay? So Charlie avoided those two scenarios at all cost. So he made those two scenarios. Then he's like, I just got to avoid them. And literally, he became a better meteorologist and probably saved a lot of lives by inverting the problem. And he tells that story, and it was such a beautiful story. I'm like, man, this is amazing, right? So like for me, I think about that in my own life. Finances, faith, family, fitness, all of those. How would I destroy my health? Right? Then we just got to avoid those things. So, you know what I mean? Like weight loss and fitness, if you want to be lean, ask yourself, what would I do to not be lean? Write down that list. If you want to lose fat, ask yourself, what would I do to not lose fat? Make that list and then avoid it. Want to gain muscle? You want to get toned up? You want to gain more muscle? Ask yourself, what would I do to not gain muscle? And once you know, boom, never do those things. So that's the concept of inversion. Invert, always invert. Ask the opposite of the question that you're asking, and then make a list of all those things, and boom, avoid them. And then you will win by default. It's by far a great way to look at life. It's by far one of the best ways to actually logically solve problems. Okay. So I hope this helps. If you want more episodes like this, more mental frameworks that I like using, because I don't know if I ever mentioned it. My undergraduate was in computer science and biology. So I was a bioinformaticist. And in computer science, computer scientists are notorious for mental models. Like we use a lot of them. And there's so many great mental models. There's so many great books on it too. But I love this stuff. And I've used it a lot in business, even though I had no formal training in business. I'm like literally self-taught. I think knowing these models in the back of my mind really helps me make good decisions. And sometimes those decisions don't turn out well, and that's fine. But overall, mental frameworks really help you in life. And obviously, I'm still young, so I'm not going to pass judgment that I'm the best decision maker in the world. But I think if you had to make a decision fast and more efficiently, using a mental model is better than not using a mental model. So inversion is one of those frameworks. It's one of those mental models that can help you. So I hope this helps. Let me know on Instagram and on Mogaius at Mogaius how you like this episode, or if you want more mental frameworks like this. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Systems podcast. I really appreciate you for tuning in today. Now, here are 2 ways I can help you for free. One, you can join our free Facebook community by just going to this link, bit.ly/Titan Facebook group. Just type that into your browser and then answer 2 questions, and then we'll let you into our Facebook community where you'll meet other people, as well as we have a lot of free resources in terms of meal plans, workouts, all kinds of stuff in there. Second way I can help you for free is if you follow me on Instagram at Mogaius, MOE, as in George, H as in horse, I as in India, A as in apple, S as in Sam. Follow me there and then shoot me a message with the word Healthy Systems, and then I'll be sure to send you a free gift. Other than that, keep listening in, and I really appreciate you.